So there were a couple things I forgot to mention. So first of all, I already recorded a little clip, but there were a couple things I forgot to say. So first of all, this is a specific version of Wiggle Fly, which is ctcf, which basically just means that it's the crawl, turn, cancel flight, which is different from the normal CTF version. I won't explain all the differences, but it's more lenient, but it's slightly harder in terms of CPS, which is the next thing. Basically, use SOCD, which means that you can have two buttons cancel each other out when pressed, instead of being both pressed at the same time. For example, left and right, you stand still, but instead of it, it just registers the latest input. What that allows to do is that you can hold one direction while spamming the other, and in this case, Rainbolt is based on 40 ticks per second, and you need to hold and then let go for 22 ticks for CTCF, which means you have to spam exactly 10 CPS with your hand, whatever hand you want to do it with. Personally, for me, that's right hand. So yeah, that's all. Hello. So basically, simple wiggle flight tutorial, because yes, why not? So wiggle flight consists of three main parts, or two in my opinion. First, you have basically trigger, crawl, turn, and then you want to use SOCD and spam the opposite direction to generate that side-to-side motion that it requires. I use three main methods for this. For specifically normal tick rate, which is this, which is 40, I use 2. I have the classic, which I never use anymore, so I'm going to be terrible at it, but yeah, I never can do this anymore. But you can do this. I always end up holding too long, especially since I've adjusted the actuation point on my keyboard to match with what I now use. But you can do this. I basically put my hand slightly in an angle from my wrist, or from my, I put my wrist in a slight angle, and I basically move my button from the top right of the key to the bottom right, like I kind of like slide it down like this. And you see I'm always moving to the right, because I'm holding too long, but so that's kind of annoying, but yeah, it's a very good way to do it. But personally nowadays I use something else, which is very interesting. I basically stretch out my arm. You want to rotate your shoulder inwards so that your wrist is basically at a 90-degree angle like this. Then you want to stretch out your arm like this. Keep your fingers, don't stretch out your fingers all the way, because that's really straining on the, I don't know if you know what they're called, but your tendencies in your wrists, that like, they don't like that, so keep your fingers curved like that. Tuck your thumb in a bit, you want to rotate your wrist like that, or I actually just kind of rotate your forearm to generate the click on the button. Keep your upper arm you shouldn't rotate your entire upper arm as well, like you don't need to, because your wrist is more than enough to generate this motion. I would recommend doing that, because it's just going to put more strain on your arm. And yeah, basically that allows you to, at least in my experience, click really consistently. And yeah, it's pretty useful, at least in my opinion. It's more useful in speedrunning as well, because I feel like it's less dependent on, I don't know, sometimes with normal clicking I felt like on the day that I'm just worse. For me it's like pretty consistent every day, like I can be like, it doesn't really matter if I'm like tired or not. I guess it can put a lot of strain on your arm. The reason I like using it is because I don't know, once you get good at it, hopefully it's consistent enough to where you don't have to spend that long on the wiggle flight sections you do like doing, or in speedrunning or something, but yeah, it can put a lot of strain on your arm, especially on your shoulder and your wrist. wrist, so be careful with that. Yeah, and the last clicking method I use, which is kind of boring, it's kind of just like a normal click, but it's like still a tiny bit interesting, I guess. Basically, I have my hand and I put my fingers in the palm of my hand. I don't like pressing my nails with the palm of my hand, that hurts. And then I put my thumb next to my finger like this, between this and this joint, like there, and then I use that to kind of click the buttons. I use this specifically for slower tick rates, like the depths, because I can click more than fast enough this way to get like up to 9-ish GPS, and it's way easier to, this way in my opinion, it's way easier to control the start. But this is kind of difficult to always get the perfect 3-tick input. You see a lot of the time I arc to the left because that's the way I started, because I only do a 2-tick input. But this way it's a lot easier to like control the start and do the first 3-tick input, like you see here, getting a different start. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm gonna be a bit rusty. So yeah, that's basically it. Oh yeah, one more important thing for wiggle flight, especially if you're doing it in the depths, but also just generally for starting, you can actually use a jump store on wiggle flight. Make sure you, while you're doing the down input to trigger the crawl turn, make sure you hold jump. So you do a, basically you trigger a pounce, you let go of down, but you can hold the jump input. If you don't hold the jump input, you do not get the swim jump storage, and then you, out of that, you trigger the crawl turn. So that looks like that on the input display as well. So yeah, that's basically it. Yippee!